Keeping things varied on the plot, I mean the jobs that you're doing, does help keep motivation going, especially when the jobs that you're doing are not particularly rewarding. But this area I've decided is going to be where I keep my potatoes. So ultimately it'll be covered over. And as you can see, it's different levels and it's a bit of a mess really. This old structure that I built many years ago, it's pretty rotten now and I don't think I'm going to have any use for it. The wood is not going to withstand moving it around. But inside it, I've got my Brussels sprouts, which these are probably the longest standing Brussels sprouts that I've got on the plot. And for the first time ever, they've got a really good stem full of Brussels on them. And so what I'm going to do is clear away from here the things that I know have got to go without really disturbing them. And it might mean I have to stake these, which is fine too. But it's going to be a job to get this out. I've got quite a lot of iron work here, which I left from a previous job, and some net and some hoops. So various things. And my plan this morning is just to clear it away so I can see the wood for the trees. I'm thinking that trying to get a natural gradient on this is probably quite a tough call and might require quite a lot more soil. So I'm thinking I'm going to keep that edge in for now, and if I have to step down to a lower level, then so be it. Right, enough talking. I might also get to pull up some of this grass and turn it over, see how we go. I'm sure, like me, many of you do just what I've done, which is move a lot of stuff from one space to another. And I'm doing that regularly, especially as I'm downsizing the plot. And the truth is, I've not used this bit of metal tubing for years and years and years. And so is the case with quite a bit of this rusty old iron. So I'm going to get ruthless and put some of it out for the guy who picks up the iron. And well, I don't know, maybe I could use that. It's hard when you're making decisions about keeping bits of rusty old iron, but it's got to be done. I think anything that's reasonably long and will go in the ground, I'll keep. Everything else that is just short and not got much future, I'll get rid of. Right, what have we got? Well, it just amazes me the stuff that I've accumulated into this corner over the years to try and shear things up and keep it going. You can see the wood that I'm taking out, completely rotten. I mean, literally, it's just like Weetabix and covered in moss, breaking up. And that whole structure just fell apart when I started to pull it around. So that's out. I've got to extract the wire mesh off of the wood, which shouldn't be too hard because it's so soft. Underneath the rubble path that I had there, and a bit of polystyrene that I elected to put down for some reason, there is a brick path that I remember putting down. So those bricks probably come out. I won't do that right away. You can see the sprouts, absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to do everything to preserve those. And then, well, it's a good time just to get in here and have a bit of a weed and stand some of these plants upright so that they get the best continued growing from what's left of the growing season for sprouts. They tend to sort of thicken up and the actual sprouts just swell a bit over the coming weeks. So that'll be good. Otherwise, this structure that I put in with the retaining corrugated iron, I think Just going to leave it for now because this area is looking okay, fairly level. So it may be I end up with just a couple of stepped levels rather than cause myself a huge amount of work. I just need to think about maintenance and weed ingress and how I control it. We've got some barriers over there, but yeah, you start to sort of understand the job in hand as you progress. So next stop, get the weeds out of here and get some stakes in so they got the best possible chance. You're probably thinking, as I am, that this looks a lot better without that cage around it. Of course, the cage wasn't put on there for sprouts. It was put on there for strawberries, which at the time needed protection from the birds, and it stayed. So yeah, that's what happens. You change your mind about what you're going to grow and the structure that you've created around it becomes irrelevant and you just don't move it, which is a bit lazy, I know, but to be honest, that cage didn't have a lot of uses anywhere else. So there it stayed, and now it's out. It does look a lot better. Right, I'm just going to tie these up, give them a chance against the wind, and then probably move on from this area for now. I've got to separate all that wire from the wood and then just leave this be for a bit whilst I contemplate what's next. I might have a bit of a go at this grass in front. Right, 2 more of these to do and we're done. Maybe 3. And these sprouts are really sturdy now. I'm not sure that tying around them like this will do them much good, but I know for sure that if I get a really windy day, they're a bit in line for a blasting. So I think it probably is best on balance. Okay, I'll bring you back when I'm done. Right. I'm winning now, so I'm just going to level this rather than leave it in a heap and then put a cover on it. Everything really in the interest of keeping weed control down, because it soon catch up with me if I don't do something to prevent it as I go along. There's quite a lot of nice soil here which came out of the path, but I think this is just going to end up being platform soil, making it a good base on which to cover up and put potatoes. We'll see how we go, but there we are, that's reasonably level. And I've got this old trampoline cover which hasn't been doing anything for a while, and I'm just going to cover this over, probably put a few bricks on it just to keep weed growth to a minimum, as I say. Right. There we go. I should have plenty of bricks. There we go. I should keep it on the deck. Well, that's this area pretty much organised for now, and that's a good step forward. Once you start clearing areas, you start to see the wood for the trees, and the planning becomes all that much simpler. Good times. Right, well, I took those hoops out and I'm going to make good use of them, get them into this area where I know they will probably end up at some point. And to do that, I need to take down this cage. I don't know whether I'm going to do broad beans in here. What I do know is I'm going to do a lot less. So that's given me the impetus to move out of here with this cage. So I'll get this into the polytunnel where everything's being stored. just give this bed a work through, because I really am approaching that time now when I'm going to be spreading the compost that I've made for the last year across the beds, and this one is pretty much ready. I just need to clear it of weeds, probably remove this rather healthy looking nasturtium, and just get it ready for covering. So I'll carry on with this and speed it up. So that's in good order now, and that is ready for covering over with fresh compost. And I've got a few beds that are at that point now. That one for sure, definitely this one over here, and half of that one. I'm going to be taking out the broccoli very soon because we've had most of the heads off of it. The leaves are great, we can use those, but we've got so much kale to use and cabbage to use that I'm not really desperate to use some of that. Some of those, probably when I take it out, I'll use some of the best leaves that are on the plants for our meal that day. That'll probably be the best thing. As I've been to and fro all day, I've been moving bits and pieces that I know are going to need to be stored away, so they've got to go away in the polytunnel. But first, I've got to do a quick harvest. I've got an order for a very small stew pack, so I'm just going to get those bits together. There we are. It's for an elderly person, and I'll make a nice fresh meal for them, and not too much for them to prepare, and they don't eat too much, so I'm sure that'll be more than enough. There we are, a few things put in the polytunnel. I've got the tools to put away. That bed's pretty much prepared, and this area is looking, well, different from what it did this morning, which is good. So it's been a fairly productive day. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed my video today. If you did, why not like and subscribe, and well, click that bell and get the uploads every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Give us a like, it certainly helps the channel. Have a good week. Diolch yn fawr.